Moving on, the East Marylebone Special Policy Area. Should we protect wholesale showroom uses at basement and ground floor only? Should the period of long-term vacancy be reduced to from 18 months? And if so, what would be the suggested term? And in applications for redevelopment, should showroom uses always be required to be replaced? So this is a special policy area that protects wholesale showrooms. Essentially.
Chairman, I'm so surprised that this has cropped up again. This has been on the menu for the last 20 years, as far as I can remember. And to the best of my knowledge, all the showrooms have all emigrated to East One, and I'm very surprised that.
I think
it's even considered now. I have constituents who have businesses there, and they've been trying to turn the place into offices and shops and so on and so forth. And in fact, one of them actually organised the development. I think it's called Oxford Market or Oxford
Marketplace.
And he's made an excellent development there.
I think in Sally's absence, I think there has been a net loss overall, but there's certainly a cluster that still exists within that special policy area. So.
Again, unfortunately, I'm afraid it's in my ward. Most of it's in my ward again. And Councillor Nemeth is absolutely right. This has cropped up every single time that we've had this kind of discussion. And the fact is that as he says, there is a very limited now demand for the rag trade, although I was told off by a former councillor for calling it the rag trade, it's the fashion business in that area. And indeed, in Great Titchfield Street, the City Council did allow a change of use for media. And that was very wise because it was actually given to Wise Buddha Limited, who then subsequently expanded within the same street and now are employing something like 50 people there. So I think this is an occasion where I would agree with Councillor Nemeth that really we ought to start looking at being sensible about is there any demand? And you only need to walk around and you'll see the number of units that are empty and vacant. And I think we should be a little more flexible.
And would that include reducing the term? At the moment it seems to be 18 months.
18 months is a ridiculously long time. I thought maybe 6 months. But why have a term? Why not look at it in the round and just have a flexible approach to the whole thing? The fact is that Marketplace came about because all those units, and I was very much involved in that planning decision, came about because there was no demand. What has happened is we had a policy, no more A3 on Oxford Street, so we had to provide A3 off Oxford Street. This gave the A3 occupiers a wonderful opportunity. They're now all making a lot of money, and indeed I think there's an application before the committee at the moment for another A3 use. So I'm not sure it's appropriate to saturate the area, but it's a balance, and everything's about balancing it. And I think that to have a stiff policy on the wholesale showrooms is out of date, and we should look ahead and we should say we will consider every application on its merits.
And if we were to, for instance, manage wholesale showrooms and the contraction of that within the area, you've mentioned A3 uses. Are there any other sorts of uses that we should be looking to replace this floor space to give the area a particular character? Or?
Well, a certain developer who is no longer around, who's going to develop Middlesex Hospital, wanted to call it, it's called NoHo area there anyway, North Soho. And I think that we should be looking at the media in many ways because they're looking for larger units than they can get down in Wardour Street, etc. So those are opportunities that would certainly suit that area where there's lots of little small cafes and there's a buzz around there to that extent. So I think that is an ideal thing. But I think we shouldn't actually say it has to be this, it has to be that. Let's let the market decide what it wants and then take a view on it that it fits into the surrounding area.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Councillor.
Say what we don't want. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree actually with Harvey altogether. But I would hate it to become just another, extension of Oxford Street, in as much as, Next would open there and, all the chain stores. It's the kind of area that would really merit from being protected as kind of a special shopping area, like Marylebone has developed, Carnaby Street, in its day. That's how I see it going, it could become. But if we're not careful, it could just become an extension of Oxford Street with just all the chains kind of rushing in there.
Well, one of the problems is that we can't control the occupier, so we go back to that point. So if we allowed a change, for example, to an A1 use, whether it's some boutique use or whether it's next, we obviously don't have any control over, and that's something that probably needs to be borne in mind about the changing character of the area as well in our policy approach, and whether or not anyone's got any suggestions for that.
If you've got a significant landowner who owns a significant part of these units, then there's a discussion to be had with that landowner.
Thank you.
It strikes me the ditching of this policy is overdue, but we just need to have, as has been picked up, our minds to what the future holds. The only reason why I think we've tolerated the long-term vacancy for so long is because these existing units are so bland and faceless anyway, unfortunately, that it makes very little difference to my mind as to whether you look at a window which has got a few clothes in it or has got some kind of advert across it saying public not allowed, or a vacant shop unit. So,
Okay. All right. Are there any more views on the East